South Africa's first state capture case to go on trial has officially fallen flat. The High Court in South Africa has discharged the 7 people accused of swindling 24 million rand to conduct a feasibility study for a dairy farm in the Free State province. The judge slammed the state, saying they were unable to show evidence that the accused committed the offences. The company at the center of the fraud and money laundering case was Nulani Investment, owned and controlled by former Gupta associate Iqbal Sharma. The discharge comes weeks after the South African government lost its bid to eradicate the Gupta brothers, alleged to be linked to large-scale state capture in South Africa. The State Capture Commission ran for about 4 years, looking into allegations of widespread corruption in the public service and within state organs involving billions of rand. Joining us now to discuss this further is the Director of Accountability Now, Paul Hoffman. Thank you for joining us on the news.
Thank you for the opportunity and good evening to your viewers.
Paul, is this a major blow for the National Prosecuting Authority and for South Africa?
Certainly it is. It's really the equivalent of a pilot not being able to get his plane to take off, or perhaps a pilot doing a wheels-up landing. It is a most unfortunate outcome from the point of view of the Criminal Justice Administration. And I'm afraid it's not the fault of the prosecutors and the policemen who were involved in the leading of the evidence and of the investigation of the case. The problem lies with the failure of the South African government to put in place adequately independent anti-corruption machinery of state that is able to deal with serious corruption effectively and efficiently. And until that is done, this type of catastrophe, coming hot on the heels of the Guptas not being extradited from the UAE,
the bigger picture. Help us understand what were the errors made by the police and the NPA in this case, which resulted in a discharge of the accused.
Yes, well, there was a discharge of 7 of the accused, as you said in the intro. The 8th accused was actually acquitted because no evidence at all was led against her. So the Keystone cops falling around really amounted to a failure to establish a trail of admissible evidence, a failure to put original documentation before the court, and a failure to establish the fraudulent intent of those accused who were discharged at the end of the state's case. The court basically said, you've got a case to answer.
Okay, is it possible for the NPA to resuscitate this case? If yes, what needs to be done?
What needs to be done is for the Parliament to pass laws which row back from the situation which has pertained since Jacob Zuma came to power at Polokwane in 2007. One of the first things that he did was to close down the Scorpions. Now, the Scorpions were a unit within the NPA, which was a weakness, and it caused their demise. But they were effective and efficient. They caused more than 100 politicians to be charged with fraud, and they succeeded in those cases called the Travelgate cases, where travel allowances were abused by members of parliament. They got the chief whip of the ANC into jail because he was guilty of defrauding parliament. They were able to get the Interpol head and the National Commissioner of Police in South Africa convicted of corruption and sentenced to 15 years in jail. And perhaps most significantly of all, they succeeded through their investigative and prosecutorial work.
All right, Mr. Hoffman.
Jacob Zuma's own man should be a sheikh convicted of corruption.
Thank you very much for giving us your time and shedding more light on this.
You're welcome.